The Roman legion was a highly organized war machine, with each soldier holding a specific place within a hierarchy. From the young and inexperienced to the most respected veterans, every position had defined responsibilities and a crucial role in the legion's success in battle. And in this video, we're going to look at every position within a Roman legion, starting with the commanding officers all the way down to the common soldiers. We'll see how each level in the hierarchy contributed to the strength and effectiveness of the Roman army. Let's start with the highest position in a Roman legion, the Legatus Augusti pro praetore. He was the provincial governor and commander-in-chief of all the legions in a province, generally of senatorial status. The literal translation of his title reveals his importance: envoy of the emperor with praetorian powers. This means he was the emperor's direct representative in the province and governed in his name. This office was reserved for high-ranking senators, usually former consuls or former praetors, who had proven their ability in previous positions. In essence, he was the emperor's right hand in the most important provinces, combining military strength with political and civil authority, which placed him at the top of the hierarchy, above all commanders of individual legions. Below him was the Legatus Legionis. He was the commander of a single Roman legion. The Legatus Legionis was always a member of the senatorial class, usually a former praetor, appointed directly by the emperor. His appointment was seen as an important step in his political and military career. His term usually lasted about 3 years, providing crucial experience for the empire's future leaders. Next came the Tribunus Laticlavius. He was the second in command of a legion, just below the Legatus Legionis. His position carried immense prestige and responsibility, but his function was more political than military. The name Laticlavius comes from Laticlavus, meaning broad stripe. This was a purple stripe on his tunic, an exclusive symbol of his social class, the senatorial class. Normally around 20 years old, a young Roman senator was assigned to the legion to gain practical military experience before beginning his political life in Rome. Although he was second in command, his lack of experience often meant that the most responsible military tasks fell to the praefectus castrorum, or the most senior centurions. Next, we have the praefectus castrorum. This was the camp prefect. Unlike the senior officers, he rose from within the legion's own ranks. This position was the culmination of a long and distinguished career as a centurion. The praefectus castrorum was a war veteran with decades of experience, and his main responsibilities were more logistical and engineering related than direct battlefield command. He was responsible for the construction, maintenance, and security of the legion's camp, both temporary camps and permanent fortresses. He also oversaw the soldiers' training, and in the absence of senior officers, he could take command of the legion. Tribuni Angusticlavi. The Tribuni Angusticlavi were a group of 5 junior-ranking military tribunes in each Roman legion. Although they shared the title tribune with the Tribunus Laticlavius, they had a different role and social origin, indicated by the name Angusticlavius, meaning narrow stripe. This purple stripe, thinner than that of the Tribunus Laticlavius, symbolized that they belonged to the equestrian class, not the senatorial class. These 5 tribunes were young officers who served as assistants to the commander, Legatus Legionis, and the senior officers. Unlike the Tribunus Laticlavius, who was in a stage of his political career, the Tribuni Angusticlavi were on a military and administrative path. They were often assigned to lead smaller units for specific tasks, such as patrol missions, garrisoning smaller forts, or commanding a wing of cavalry. Serving as a Tribunus Angusticlavius was a way for a young equestrian to gain experience and demonstrate military ability, which could lead to a career as a prefect of an auxiliary unit or to other important administrative posts in the empire. Below all these officers was the primus pilus centurion. Primus pilus, which means first spear, was the highest ranking and most respected centurion in a Roman legion. Each legion had 10 cohorts, numbered from 1 to 10, with the first being the most important of all, containing the most experienced veteran legionaries. The primus pilus was the commander of the first century of the first cohort of the legion, and that made him the highest-ranking centurion in the entire legion, a position he had reached after years of service and distinction in battle. The primus pilus was the principal advisor to the legion commander and to the praefectus castrorum. He was the voice of experience in the legion's leadership, and his recommendations on tactics, training, and troop morale were taken very seriously. Because of his high status, he received a significantly higher salary than other centurions and held a position of great influence within the legion. He was also one of the few centurions to have a seat on the legion's war council. The role of primus pilus was generally held for only 1 year. At the end of his term, he had the option to retire with a substantial financial reward or, in some cases, to be promoted to the rank of praefectus castrorum, which would place him third in the legion's chain of command. Below the primus pilus was the primi ordines centurion, or centurion of the first ranks. These were the other 4 centurions who oversaw the other 4 centuries of the first cohort. While a regular cohort, from the 2nd to the 10th, consisted of 6 centuries, the first cohort was unique. It had only 5 centuries, but each was a double century, with twice as many men, totaling about 800 soldiers. The centurions who commanded these 4 double centuries of the first cohort were the highest ranking, just below the primus pilus. They were experienced veterans and held considerable prestige within the legion. Below these 4 centurions was the pilus prior centurion. He was the highest ranking centurion in each regular cohort, from the 2nd to the 10th cohort, so there were 9 pilus prior centurions in a legion. He not only commanded his own century, but was also the commander of the entire cohort, reporting directly to the legion's high command. In battle, he led the cohort's first line of attack. Just below him in the hierarchy came the pilus posterior, who commanded the cohort's 2nd century. He was the pilus prior's right-hand man and would assume command in his absence. Next, the hastatus prior led the 3rd century and the hastatus posterior the 4th, while the princeps prior and the princeps posterior commanded the 5th and 6th centuries respectively. Each of these centurions led one of the ranks that made up the cohort, with authority diminishing gradually. Non-commissioned officers. The optio was the 2nd in command of a century, acting as the centurion's right-hand man. His role was vital to the unit's discipline and cohesion in battle, since he positioned himself at the rear of the century, ensuring that the soldiers kept formation and did not break apart. The name optio derives from the Latin verb optare, meaning to choose, because he was selected by the centurion himself to assist him, reflecting the trust and experience required for the post. To maintain order, he used a staff with a knobbed end. Next came the signifer, the bearer of the signum, the standard of each century. The signum was a symbol of honor and identity for the soldiers, and the signifer was an experienced, respected officer with the responsibility of protecting it at all costs. Beyond its symbolic function, he had a crucial practical role. He acted as the century's treasurer, managing the soldiers' pay and savings, and also as their banker, taking care of their finances. The tesserarius was the 3rd in command of a century and the optio's right-hand man. He acted as a guard sergeant, responsible for the daily passwords, tesserae, that allowed entry and exit from the camp and controlled the night watch. His role required trust and discipline, ensuring that the unit's security was kept under strict control. The cornicen was the trumpeter of a century, and his function was vital for communication on the battlefield. He stayed close to the centurion and the signifer to receive verbal orders and then translate them into horn signals that could be heard across the entire century, cutting through the noise of combat. It was the cornicen who set the marching rhythm and signaled tactical maneuvers such as advancing or retreating, ensuring that the soldiers acted as a cohesive unit. The imaginafer was a post of great honor, responsible for carrying the embossed image of the reigning emperor. The presence of the imago in the legion symbolized the emperor's authority over the troops and reinforced the soldiers' loyalty to Rome's leader. The imaginafer served in specific cohorts, usually in the first cohort, and his position was a constant reminder of the connection between the legion and the empire's central power. Finally, the aquilifer was the bearer of the eagle, aquila, the most sacred and important insignia of the entire legion. The eagle was not just a symbol, it was the very embodiment of the legion's spirit, its honor, and its identity. The aquilifer was an elite, highly respected, experienced soldier, and the weight of his responsibility was immense. Losing the eagle in battle was considered the greatest disgrace that could befall a legion, resulting in its dishonor or even its dissolution. Protecting the eagle was an absolute priority for the entire legion. Now let's move on to the soldiers who had slightly lower status than the non-commissioned officers. Within this group is the decurion, who commanded a cavalry turma made up of 30 soldiers. Despite its tactical importance in the field, the position of decurion in the imperial army had a lower social status than it had in the Republic, and it was often held by plebeians or members of local tribal aristocracies rather than Roman patricians. Another important role was the vexillarius, the bearer of the vexillum, the standard of a subunit or of a temporary detachment of the legion. Often these detachments were elite units or special forces, and the vexillarius wore standard armor but with a distinctive helmet decorated with animal skins such as lion or wolf, symbolizing the bravery and strength of his unit. His function was crucial for visual communication and troop morale during missions. The foundation of the entire legion was the miles gregarius, the rank-and-file soldier. They were supervised by the centurion and the optio and made up the vast majority of the force, being responsible for the hardest daily work, such as combat, construction, marching, and garrison duties. It was from the ranks of these soldiers that the legion drew its capacity for promotion. Roman meritocracy allowed a miles gregarius with talent and courage to rise through the hierarchy, becoming a non-commissioned officer and eventually a centurion. There was also the possibility of a soldier being considered immunis, that is, exempt from heavy daily labor. This status was given to legionaries with specialized skills, such as engineers, doctors, or blacksmiths, allowing them to use their knowledge in more technical functions instead of performing manual work, regardless of rank. Finally, on the lowest rung of the structure were the recruits, or tyrones. They were not a formal military rank, but a temporary status. A new enlistee remained a recruit during his initial training period, which was extremely rigorous. Only after successfully completing that training was he formally accepted into the legion and became a miles gregarius. So tell me in the comments what you thought of this complete list of the Roman army's hierarchy. Which of these positions did you not know yet? And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.